Compact Freelander or RAV4 sized 4x4s don't really provide much space for a growing family, despite premium pricing, or at least some of them don't. Citroen's C-Crosser is an exception in this sector, with 7-seat practicality and family 4x4 standards of space for small 4x4 money. Though Citroen don't have any kind of history in this category, the C-Crosser is exactly the kind of value package you'd expect them to want to produce.
For all their history of developing cars that you could drive across a ploughed field whilst wearing a hat, the French haven't achieved too much when it comes to building 4x4s. Those with long memories might remember the Citroen Mahari, whilst in the last couple of decades Citroen have developed a series of all-conquering all-wheel drive rally cars. But when it comes to capitalising on the phenomenal growth of lifestyle 4x4s, it's probably fair to say that Citroen, like their French counterparts, have comprehensively missed the bateau. Things are changing though. Recognising that it was best not to start from square one in this respect, Citroen and its partner Peugeot have teamed up with Mitsubishi to share the development costs of a common platform that has spawned 3 cars: the Peugeot 4007 and Mitsubishi Outlander, and the model that we're looking at here, the Citroen C-Crosser. Now, while it may represent something of a gamble for Citroen to launch in a market where it's got no previous heritage, the way that it's done it really does represent a very clever approach by the French maker. 2 engines are available with the C-Crosser. The 2.2 litre HDI diesel that most choose, that's good for 156 brake horsepower, and it's mated to a 6-speed manual gearbox in most cases. Or you can have the version that I'm driving here, a 2.4 litre injection petrol model with a CVT automatic transmission, and that's good for 170 brake horsepower. Optimised for on-road use, the all-wheel drive system is perfectly good for muddy tracks and slippery roads. But those looking to tackle something more arduous would probably be better served by going for a vehicle with a proper low-range transfer case or a little more in terms of ground clearance. The C-Crosser's on-demand 4-wheel drive system enables the user to select between 3 different modes whilst on the move via a circular control that's located down here by the handbrake. Now, most of the time on tarmac roads you're going to be driving in permanent 2-wheel drive, where all the power basically goes to the front wheels. But if it gets a bit slipperier, you might want to switch to automatic 4-wheel drive. And here the system automatically selects how much torque needs to go to how much wheel, depending on how much traction it has in the conditions you're driving in. Now, should you find yourself in a really sticky situation though, you might need to select a permanent 4-wheel drive. Now here the torque is split 50-50 between the front and the rear to give you that extra pulling power if you're really stuck. The whole idea of this system is to provide what Citroen call the best of both worlds. A system that provides enough traction to deal with reasonably arduous terrain, and also competitive fuel economy and reasonable dynamic on-road behaviour. Granted, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but this particular beholder can't help but think that Citroen has done a better job than their sister company Peugeot of draping their particular version of this car in its respective corporate clothes. Inside, there isn't too much you can finger as being wrong with the ergonomics. The ventilation controls are easy to fathom, and the multifunction switches on the steering wheel are a nice touch. Now, Citroen's penchant for flexibility and innovation is clearly evident with the 5+2 seating configuration of the C-Crosser. As you can see at the back here, you've got a 3rd row bench for children or adults on short journeys, and how you get to it is actually quite clever. You've got 2 switches, one either side here on the wheel arches, and if you flip them forward, the 2nd row of seats folds forward. It's split so you can get in either side. Now, there's not a huge amount of space back here, so it's just as well that the 2nd row of seats is on runners and it can slide forwards and backwards, so you can increase the rearmost passenger's legroom, or if you're using this space for baggage, give yourself a bit more extra luggage space. In fact, there's plenty of stowage space throughout, with no fewer than 20 individual storage compartments dotted around the cabin. All these 5 rear seats fold flat into the floor, creating a total luggage area of 1,686 litres. While if you keep the second row seats in place, you get 510 litres. To access all that load space, you've got a split folding tailgate here that drops the height of the bumper area by 64 millimetres and doubles as a handy seat, capable of taking up to 200 kilograms. Prices sit in the £20,000 to £26,000 bracket that's common to this class of car. And unless you've a smaller family, you're a frustrated Lewis Hamilton, or image is particularly important, it's difficult to see why you'd choose a more expensive RAV4 or Freelander over a keenly priced example of something like a C-Crosser. Standard equipment includes 6 airbags, an alarm, automatic headlamps, sliding and reclining second row seats, ABS braking, ESP stability control, cruise control and auto air conditioning. Now, so-called soft SUVs of this kind aren't really any more expensive to run than your average sort of medium-range Mondeo size family estate. In this 2.2 litre HDI, you should get around 40 miles to the gallon on a regular basis, and it puts out CO2 figures of about 191 grams per kilometre. And insurance costs aren't really prohibitive either. In the 2.4 litre petrol model, it puts out 225 grams per kilometre, and you should average about 30 miles to the gallon on a regular basis. Depreciation, well, it won't really be any worse than cheap Far Eastern brands, and what you'll lose against the posh marks, you can recoup by the competitive upfront sticker price you'll be needing to ask from your friendly dealer when you buy the car. The C-Crosser represents a toe in the water exercise by Citroen, and it makes a lot of sense to adopt that approach. Okay, so it's not going to revolutionise the 4x4 market, but it should do enough to prompt Citroen to be a bit bolder next time. Personally, I like the idea behind this car. The C-Crosser Peugeot 4007 Mitsubishi Outlander design is a good one, and my local Citroen dealership would be my first port of call if I wanted to get it at the best possible price. Indeed, if you don't want a cheap Far Eastern brand, this is the most affordable way to get 7-seat practicality in the 4x4 sector. And in that respect, you could call the C-Crosser a market-leading 4x4. And whoever thought would be saying that about a Citroen?